Hi everyone, welcome back to EarthStar Tarot. I am contemplating a name change, but stay tuned for that. So what I have time for today is a collective reading. So we're going to do a collective reading about what are their feelings for you right now. So I did just do a reading on this topic, recorded right after the last reading, and that reading I somehow managed to delete I rendered improperly basically, and the second half of the third pile got deleted, and then I tried to feel into whether I should re-record it, pick up where I'd left off, re-record it completely, and in the process ended up just not, I started to feel like I should just refilm the entire reading, and because those were the energies of last week, and now we're in this week, and although readings are timeless, it felt like for me to merge back together with the first two readings would have been a little iffy, but there was also some footage of my cat that I'm going to release separately because he was quite adorable and he helped me shuffle the tarot cards. And so every time I start these readings I have like a list of apologies that I want to give for why I haven't been more present or active, and which is funny because I have 46 subscribers, all of, 2 of whom watch the channel on a regular basis. But nonetheless, hi, thanks for being here. And yeah, so I was going to do another pick a card, but what I have time for right now is just a collective reading on this topic. I also, here among my list of apologies, there's always male apologies, and I usually edit them out because I think they're silly, but there's also a gender component. Like, I grew up in a household where gender was not emphasized in the same way that I'd say it is for most people. Oh, pets are on high alert. I'll be back in 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. There was an animal perhaps wandering into our home. And that is my dog in the background, just making sure everything's okay. And everything is okay. Okay, so fast forward. So I was going to say that, yeah, I'll just edit this part out probably. there's like an expression here that I want to say, but I'm like, every time I record I struggle to say it in a way that feels authentic and relatable, both. And so, but basically it's just that like I've always loved my own hands actually, but it's kind of an extension of my, yeah, I'm just going to edit this out. Let's get to the tarot card reading. But what I have time for today is just a collective reading, so that's what we'll do right now. In the last reading I mentioned this pretty that I found in the field, going for a walk, and how I just never expected to actually find, had, kind of given up on actually finding one out in nature someday. The next day, I was walking in the field, and I found this pretty, and I haven't really properly cleaned either of them up yet, but I will. But then I was thinking about how I've moved, and I have not unpacked all my little pretties that I, for some time, was thinking that I needed to get rid of. I was thinking I have too much clutter, too many things, too many little things. And now I wish I had them all ready to hand and available for decorating readings. And but they are still packed, but they will eventually be unpacked. But what I do have is actually, I have a pretty extensive collection of skulls that just don't get shown off enough. So I thought perhaps I could show off a few. So here's one. Don't know what the best way to show that is, but there it is. It's feeling a little delicate. There's not enough room to have them right in the reading, but here's another. This one's quite pretty actually. What's the angle? There. That's a cool one. There's another little one like this. Not quite as cleaned up, although they've been soaked and everything. This one just didn't come out quite as clean. And Here's one with no antlers. That was probably the beginning. And I've got lots of other little skulls. And it feels like a day to, feels like a time for all of us to be contemplating, you know, Halloween just happened. It's a cycle of death and rebirth right now. I could talk about politics, but perhaps we'll keep that out of this reading. There's definitely some deaths and rebirths needing to happen right there. So quickly. That's very funny as I was. So we'll take that as our politics conversation right there. The two of these, which there's, I don't know if you can see that, but there's two little acorns strategically placed below the skeleton's pelvis. And look what else just came out. That's amazing. That one's gonna need a little lightning bolt on it. And the cheese fries came out with that. So this one I take as sort of an expression of kind of masculine swagger, shall we say. Not always well-founded. It's got a storm cloud behind him. And then death, as I was just talking about, the need for cycles of death and rebirth, regeneration, letting go of the old. And so, you know, I would read this as something that we need a little bit less of in the world at the moment. And I notice this death is very, very feminine, so that feels fitting. And then the cheese fries is about, you know, that guilty pleasure that you really want, and it came out together with death. So, it, you know, I don't think it's a guilty pleasure or anything that needs to be denied, but there's definitely a craving, a strong craving for the death of the, shall we call it the unsacred masculine, I think collectively right now. That's so interesting that that came out as I was. Anyway, let's talk about your person and your person's feelings for you right now. So let's get into it. So Spirit, please tune me into the collective, and let's look at what their person is feeling for them right now. What messages does the collective need about their person's feelings right now? Goodness. They all pop out at once. It's funny, those other ones just pop right out. Ooh, all the feelings all at once. What are the collective's person's feelings about them right now? Okay, we've got the Hermit. So, the Hermit is usually a call to go within, or a time of going within. This Hermit looks like they are hermiting due to motherhood. In this card, they've got a mop in one hand and a cell phone in the other. So, you know, having young kids is definitely a time when one sequesters away from the world. And I don't know if it's a time of contemplation necessarily so much as just bare attention to survival needs. So I don't know, maybe your person is attending to their survival needs, or struggling to get by, or maybe focused on trying to attend to responsibilities right now, and for that reason they maybe haven't been in touch. Life is lifey. What messages do we have for the collective regarding how their person feels about them right now? It's really interesting to me the way that the cards either jump out or do not. Let's take the bottom card on this. We've got perspective. None of this matters. Zoom out, common ground. I'm just going to turn to the guidebook on that one because I haven't pulled that before. I do like an alphabetized guidebook. Take a step back and look at the bigger picture of your life. Step away from blinkered vision and reactive frame of mind of me against them. Shift your point of view, zoom out, out, out. We are but a speck of dust in the universe, yet think everything revolves around us. We see the planet as ours to own and conquer, pillaging the land and setting ourselves up for our eventual extinction. We build fences and walls and create invisible borders, or not so invisible. Mother Earth doesn't need us to survive, but we need her. It's time to wake up. A new perspective is urgently needed. Let's zoom ahead here. This moment is a breath in the timeline of your life. This life is a fleeting moment in the tapestry of your soul's experience. Your soul's experience is a flash in the timeline of the known universe. And the known universe is a grain of sand in the unknown universe. Take a moment to see the bigger picture, to find common ground, to find deep compassion in your heart, to gain a greater perspective of humanity in this fleeting moment, in the timeline of your soul's existence, in the timeline of all that is, was, and ever will be. How are you being called to change your perspective? So perhaps your person has been preoccupied with their daily tasks, or with, putting themselves in the center of the universe. You can see that tiny little earth, and then you can imagine your person being a tiny little dot on that tiny little earth. And there's a lot of stars in the background here, and they're all very far away and, would be as huge and present if you were before them as our star is for us, being the sun. So perhaps there's a shift happening with your person. Perhaps they have been hermiting, and at this point they are having just a little bit of a perspective shift in terms of perhaps not being so intensely focused on their own journey. Jasmine. In the Philippines, a couple prepare to part, the young man to the city and his bride to remain at home, worried he will fall in love with another. He gives her his dagger, with a promise that if he does, she can kill him. But when he returns with a new wife, she plunges the knife into her own heart instead. You may feel as though your current situation is hopeless, but jasmine blooms during the night, releasing its sweetest scent when it is dark. Right now, you do not have to take action. Only let yourself feel the hope that something beautiful will come out of such darkness. So, times are challenging right now, and I would say that your person has been maybe going through a hard time. That's kind of the message that I'm getting here, and maybe they've been very self-focused and are working to change their perspective at this point. And I'd say the challenge would be for them to come out of, I want to say myopia. I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but just being very intently focused on self and self's own needs, or the needs of, the immediate day-to-day people that they're surrounded by, which, if you have a child, you need to be focused on that day-to-day. But perspective is also necessary for balance, and, not getting caught up in the darkness of circumstances. So your person might be feeling dark, they might be feeling hopeless to some extent. So if they're feeling hopeless about the connection between you, I'm not really getting that. I'm getting more just about life circumstances right now. But take what resonates. And so it may be that the perspective is to zoom out of their personal circumstances, and it is certainly a time when even zooming out beyond personal circumstances to the circumstances of the collective is still not likely to make one feel a whole lot better at this moment. But that's that's why we turn to things like I can tell you, I've been watching a whole lot of comedy specials lately, and surrounding yourself with laughter is one way to cope with anxiety, for sure. Yeah, it's definitely I want to say it's a gift. I mean, obviously it's a gift. We all have our gifts. I'm just thinking of, I just watched Tig Notaro, and they have she has a very dry sense of comedy and delivery, and I just fucking love that shit. And and like that style of comedy probably does not work for a lot of people, and the particular people that I mean, there's also something to someone with life experience that's similar to your own, speaking comedically, and, you know, how relieving it is to laugh when someone is addressing struggles that you've had in your own life. And, you know, so especially when it's coming from such a dry comedic place, I find it funny as shit. Anyway, all I'm trying to say is, sounds like looks like your person might be having a bit of darkness that is nothing to do with the connection between you and nothing to do with you, and that maybe there's a perspective shift coming, or that's necessary. And that's their work, of course, not yours. And but hopefully they will find their way to zoom out and have that bit of perspective. Can I just say how much I love tarot? Like, I love it. I love the ability to, like, tune in, and even this act of speaking. And, you know, like, I've always been someone who gets what I suppose other people would call downloads, although I feel like that word is very technological and not really, doesn't feel like it aptly describes what that process is for me. It's more like I have a sense of words that need to be spoken, and I also get sort of a body tingle, and I know that those words, it's like they're coming down through my crown chakra. If I had to put it into words, I don't think I've ever cognized that thought before, but, you know, there are times that I feel that words need to be spoken in a situation, and I know that they're not my words. And I know that those words, like, I may not even understand them, but they, you know, if I just faithfully speak them, they are likely to have effects that I may never hear about, may never know, but, you know, I get a strong feeling that it's like I'm an open channel. That's what it's like, a feeling of purity, and the words are just flowing right through me. And so when that happens in tarot readings, either the ones I'm watching or sometimes, you know, when I'm giving them, it's a pinnacle of beauty. And part of what draws me to tarot is that I want to be able to offer that more and more. And, you know, I want to say that that's like an unselfish desire to deliver my gifts to the world, and I'm sure that that is part of it. But it's also just that it feels really cool for me. So, but, you know, I think that's part of having a gift in this world, is like, you figure out, whoa, I made the candle flicker. You figure out what lights you up with joy, and then you do that, and it, you know, partly the experience of witnessing other people acting from joy, I think, is inspiring and is a gift unto itself. I've learned not to talk through the shuffling, because it's frustrating editing later. And so let's do a little cut. Spirit, please tune me into the feelings of the person, of anyone accessing this reading for them right now. So this is the Crow Tarot, which has been in a box for many months and has now joined the rest of my tarot card collection. And I haven't actually used this deck that much. Well, that's cool. That devil has a skull. Not identical to the ones I was just showing you, but still very cool. Page of Pentacles, upside down. We've got the Five of Cups. We've got the Devil card. We'll get one more and then we'll get some clarifiers. We've got Temperance. Can we get a clarifier for the Page of Pentacles upside down, please, Spirit? Got the Five of Wands, that looks like, with the Hierophant. Oh goodness, I didn't even ask the question. I'm just going to put those back and ask the question. Could we please have a clarifier for the 5 of Cups? A lot of the time that I have to do tarot readings is at night, but the string light that I purchased is on the fritz, unfortunately. Ooh, 8 of Wands. Have a clarifier for the Devil, please. We've got the 4 of Pentacles. And a clarifier for Temperance, please. We've got the Lovers. Bottom of the deck, we've got the 10 of Swords. Ooh. Oh my. Okay, let me just look at these and feel into it. I like how this table has a, this table came to me when I was on a kick of finding things with raw edges, and I actually paid some money for it, which is funny now because everyone else in my life has regarded it as like, you know, a hunk of wood, essentially. And so, for example, it became my children's art table for many years, and my idea with the art table was to cover it in things so that it was protected and then do the art. But of course, there are adults in one's children's lives who are not just oneself, and the table has not been cared for in the way that I would have liked. And then the cat decided to turn it into a scratching post over in this corner as well. And it's like, I tried to sell it at one point because it's kind of an awkward size and just has weird edges, raw edges. And at this point, I love this table so much, and it has been through some things. And anyway, so it's turning into the tarot table of the moment, with no specific plan for it to always be such. But its weird edges actually make it quite suitable for that, because I can put my tea over here. I've got the ring light set up over here, and then there's like a hold-on part right here. It's like a joystick tarot table, so that I can hold on and think about what I'm looking at. Okay, so the Page of Pentacles reversed. Refers to a lack of practicality, a lack of realism, especially about relationships, but even about finances. It's the suit of finances, the Pentacles. So if your person's undergoing, as the Oracle card suggested, your person might be undergoing some kind of, it might be money stress, it could be stress about how to meet their daily obligations in life, responsibilities, and it seems like that has been their focus. And then, so the Page of Pentacles suggests that they're maybe in that struggle, very much in that struggle, and not able to bring a practicality to it right now, or to be realistic about it, so they're still sort of in that energy, would be my reading of that. There might be a lack of maturity in the connection that they're bringing. And then the 5 of Wands refers to, I always want to say too many cooks in the kitchen. In this case, it's, you know, you imagine a flock of crows when they're all kind of fighting over something. If you've ever seen a flock of crows fight over a crumb of bread, for example, they just kind of like muscle each other out of the way and get very squawky. I love crows so much. I always have. Ravens in particular, but crows too. And I loved them long before they became trendy. Said the hipster. Okay, and so it may be that they're having this could be internal struggles, so they may be just having a hard time figuring out which path to take to get out of the situation. So they're aware that there's a problem here, and they're sorting through what they just maybe have many different thoughts. Maybe if, in terms of the relationship, in terms of their feelings for you, it could be that they're coming to things with sort of an ungrounded perspective, and they're of many different minds of you know, what to, their feelings for you are all over the place. Let's say that. But then we have the Hierophant, and the Hierophant is wisdom, stability. It's, you know, kind of the opposite of the Page of Pentacles in reverse. It can refer to union. We've got a key here, and it can refer to tradition, finding traditional solutions for things. So it came out together, and I almost put it back, and then I had a sense that I should take it. And so it may be that they are working through this. You know, they've got sort of like every different voice in their head telling them different things, and every color of the rainbow here. But perhaps there is some inner wisdom and guidance coming through with solutions. And I don't want to say commitment in terms of commitment to a relationship external to themselves, but it looks like maybe they're finding a way to commit to what their feelings are, to sort of acknowledge what their feelings are, hold with them, trust their feelings, and or maybe they're seeking out some kind of assistance in addressing, like if this is the inside of their head or the inside of their heart even, I'm thinking head for that. Maybe this is their heart impelling them towards sorting out what's happening here. And maybe they're seeking out some kind of mentorship or wisdom, like counseling is what I'm trying to say. Maybe they're in counseling to deal with mental chatter and figure out what their feelings are. And, or, you know, some other healing path, or if they're the kind of person who has access to hallowed halls, maybe they're going to those hallowed halls for solutions, or whatever the equivalent of that is in their life. I'm hearing psychedelics for some people. You know, if that's your church, then there's definitely some beautiful colors going on in this image, and some layering of, I'm just going to bring that up so that you can see it. Just tilt it around so that the glare doesn't down it. It's definitely an intriguing image. Five of Cups is regret, loss, guilt. So if something has transpired between you, they may be feeling some guilt or regret about their role in it. They might be quite keen to communicate that to you at this time. They might be feeling a strong urge to, you know, maybe there's typing happening and maybe they have the urge to send, even if it's been a while. Being pulled over here. So the Devil, this is an interesting Devil card, because the Devil, usually the chains are something that people can unshackle themselves from. This chain doesn't look so unshackleable. I have a hard time with chains on birds. It is, however, attached to a talon that is not attached to anything else, and it looks like it could just be pulled off if this bird flew over here just a little bit. But, you know, when one is in a panic and coming from a fear-based place, it's hard to figure out that there might be a solution to the problem. And so it might be that your person may have addictions issues. They might be addicted to a certain way of thinking in relationships. It could be that they are going back over ground that has felt like a sort of entrapping situation for them in the past, and just like stuff coming up is what I'm getting from this. And it may be, if this is how they're used to thinking about relationships or connections, or this one, I'm getting here that they're feeling kind of stuck in that, even as intuition is coming in to sort of shine a path out of it, even as they're having urges to communicate about it and, you know, open up that. But it, you know, I would say there's some, like, from this card, like this, you know, there's some depth here, and I'm thinking that this is deep down patterns. There's some deep down patterns that are creating this mental chatter and this, initial position of perhaps coming to the connection with a lack of maturity, or kind of from an ungrounded place, a not very realistic place, like not really realistically seeing the situation for what it actually is, but rather they're seeing it from this perspective of their own wounding. And the Four of Pentacles, that, I have to look at the video after, but I was uncertain whether it came out reversed or upright. So assuming it's upright, I immediately took it and made it upright, but it came out kind of sideways. So the four, let's call it sideways for purposes of this reading. And so the Four of Pentacles is attachment, so it might be that they're really embedded, these patterns are deeply embedded. This person is invested in those patterns, invested in those ways of thinking, and it is going to take some work, some communication to shift that narrative, for them to shift that narrative for themselves before they can come towards you with communication or be present in a relationship. And so if we assume that this came out sideways, the reverse meaning, now I want to go to my cheat sheet and double check on this, but my intuition is saying would be that they're working through those patterns and, releasing them, like kind of jiggling them up a bit. What am I trying to say? like this motion, like instead of just rooted, it's like, I hope my performative hand poetry is communicative enough here. So it may be that they're shaking up. There you go. 46, pushing 50. The end is nigh, folks. Okay, so maybe their patterns are, maybe they're starting to sort of do this work and bring in some healing and starting to shift those patterns, releasing a little bit of that attachment, that like maybe they are deeply rooted patterns, but they, or, habits of thought, habits of thinking about relationships, partners, whatever it may be, the other, like, we think about our partners the way that we learn to think about the other in our earliest days. And, it takes a lot of awareness and work before we start even realizing where some of that stuff comes from, realizing what that stuff is, never mind where it comes from. And as soon as you can kind of think back to early memories that, we all have, that we don't think about day to day, except in those quiet moments of meditation, or, when things are really challenging and stuff comes up. And I will say that I have been watching some YouTube videos on attachment theory lately, and I kind of followed the rabbit hole down into videos on toxic shame, and I watched a few videos on toxic shame, and then I watched a video that was by someone I wouldn't ordinarily have picked to watch. And in the first minute of this video, this person said two things that prompted, like maybe because it was a different person than I was used to listening to, and they had a different approach and a different take. It was like they just said two pithy things. I don't even remember the rest of that video. I did watch the rest, but it was like, boom, boom, I had these realizations, and I was like, oh yeah, that pattern comes from this thing that happened when I was a kid, in early years. And, it seems obvious as soon as you bring it to light and think about it, as soon as that, like, jiggle, sort of, like I was just outside digging up a garden bed, and the roots of the weeds and grass in that garden bed, and there's like intensely heavy rocks. It's like the tiniest little garden bed, like not much bigger than this table. And I found 3 huge boulders in it. And it's like, oh, maybe that's why the last person gave up on really gardening this spot. And there's a little ash. Make a wish. Yeah, anyway, so that act of like getting the shovel in and like turning things over loosens up those weeds, and some of them are really deeply in there, and you just have to get them out by the roots, and and then you can leave the grass in the garden and it'll nourish it. Oh, look at that, I just randomly put that back upside down. We'll leave it like that then. And so Temperance, yeah, let's go over here actually. So the Ten of Swords is the card of, being speared through by 10 different points of pain, essentially. It's like the worst of the worst. It's like the worst thing has happened, so the worst feelings maybe have come up for this person. Maybe they have experienced I feel like I have a responsibility to be kind of optimistic in these readings, but we'll get there. So stay with me. So perhaps they've gone through this dark night of the soul where they're having, the most despondent feelings about this connection, or connections generally, or themselves. Take it as it resonates, that they could, they've hit that Ten of Swords moment. The great thing about Ten of Swords is that it's like, if you imagine the Wheel of Fortune, it's the bottom of that wheel, right? It's like the very bottom when things are the worst, and there's nowhere to go from there but up. And so it's like, okay, you've hit that nadir, you've hit that worst moment, and now, one by one, you're going to be taking out those swords and returning to move up towards the better side of that wheel. And, it just, it's the point of renewal. It's the point when healing happens. The worst is behind you. And so that's kind of in the background. So maybe they've had some, like the Nine of Swords right before this is anxiety. And it may be that your person has, gone through that anxiety into like complete hopelessness. And now that is what looks to be shifting in these cards, if I had to say, because then we're over to Temperance. And so that's in the background, is the bottom of the deck card. And so Temperance is the card of balance. So, if things have been very hopeless and bad, like we've got daffodils over here. Daffodils happen to be my favorite flower because they bloom around, at least in BC, they bloom around my birthday, and which is mid-March. And there's spring. They're, like they arrive when the season is changing, when those warm winds bring in the spring. And, this crow has some tiny little angel wings on its chest, of all things. It's kind of cute. It looks like a little necklace / holy collar, and then it's got a little, what do you call those things? Oh my goodness, I am so not immersed in the lore of Christianity that I can't even remember what you call that. Halo. If ever I needed confirmation of my teeth and cred, that was it. Cannot even remember the basic terminology of Christianity at this point. Okay, so this guy's got a halo and is pouring, it looks like they're pouring water into water. Usually they're pouring water onto the earth and mixing the elements, but they're working with cups. They're working with 2 different cups. I have to pause and go get my doggy dog and let him in. Okay, my timer went off, which means we gotta finish up here. So Temperance. So Temperance is, I'm sort of seeing it in this deck as like a star card, similar energy to the star card. So you can see that the crow has 1 foot on the earth and 1 foot in the water. And so, it's like the alchemization of the elements for a good outcome. So that they're using what is available and pulling those things together and creating a potion of goodness. And if we're going from the sort of devil energy to, yeah, you leave that. No, you leave it. Then we've got, the Temperance coming in as just like resolving this energy. So this is sort of the Phoenix card of the reading, I would say. So it seems like we started in this immaturity, leading to this like hopelessness about patterns, inner patterns, I'd say. But what's coming out at the end here is that there's a search for balance, a search to, like, a tuning into intuition, I'd say, and hopefully bringing about some shifts in the connection and their feelings for you, so that, you know, sort of clearing away those patterns so there's more room to feel things for you, is what I'm seeing here. So I'd say, you know, their feelings for you are, it's almost like they're too caught up in their healing right now, their wounding and their healing, mostly their wounding, but now sort of moving towards healing, to be open to the feelings that they may feel for you. And those feelings, I would say, are coming through from their intuition. And, you know, there's every indication here that there's good feelings. The Lovers can be about a choice that needs to be made. It may be that they need to choose to temper these energies. It might be that they're still in them and they need to make that choice. But the Lovers obviously is the card of merging soul connections, being, you know, going through life together with another person. And so the Lovers and the Hierophant coming out together can indicate union for sure. So I would say that there's strong feelings here, but there's also some stuff that they need to clear away first, would be my reading of it. But I think that's a really lovely note to end on. We are going to get, I wanted to get channeled messages. We'll get a couple channeled messages from your person. Just have to be a little quick. But let's, Spirit, please bring out some channeled messages for the collective about the feelings of their person for them. I feel like I'm slightly tripping over my words, but I'm also like being very painstakingly clear, logical. So I don't know, maybe that has something to do with your person. Are they a painstakingly logical person? Hopefully their heart is whispering to them at the same time. Language is a funny thing. Just thinking of the plague, Canu. I'm a big mess, but this mess loves you. Well, I've never actually seen that one before. That's a pretty great message. Things were complicated, but now I'm ready. Okay. I can change. Can you? Get a couple more. I did want to get some advice too, so we'll see if they pop out. We'll get a couple more, but otherwise, oop. Together we are more. I didn't mean to disappoint you. We'll get just one more. There are so many things I should have said. So those are pretty self-explanatory. But I mean, these three really point to, I think, what the whole reading is pointing to. Aw, this is so sweet. Yes, Tikea. That's Tikea chiming in. He likes to sing. Sometimes when I sing, he sings along. It's quite lovely. I love it. Yes, we are going to go for a walk. I promise we will go for a walk. We just have to go take care of one or two things first. Okay, so together we are more. I didn't mean to disappoint you. That's this 5 of Cups energy here of regret. And then there's so many things I should have said. That's that, as well as that's very much, you know, these two cards are like this part of the column. I can change, can you? And, you know, I'm not sure what your person thinks that you need to change. I'm getting defensive. I'm getting defensive on your behalf. But, you know, it's always productive to look at our own patterns, so if that's resonating with something, you may want to, you don't need my defensiveness layering into it, but if you're feeling any defensiveness about that, then maybe that's something to look at. And I'm not saying that your person is right if they're assessing you as needing to change something, but, you know, you don't need to change for another person, but if there's anything in yourself that you're not comfortable with, in your own patterns and your own approach to relationships, interpersonal connections, you know, maybe consider that an invitation to look at some of that. Together we are more. And so yeah, I think there's some beautiful energies here. And I'm not going to leave it there. I'm going to get you one card from the White Light Oracle, which is really a commitment, so I might have to truncate. But at least if you've got the card, okay, Spirit, please pull out some advice for the collective about this connection. That one jumped out and went back in. At least if you know what the card is, you can look it up. So I'll try and do an effective summary. What is the advice for the collective spirit about this connection? Oh. We've got Karma of Kutuhala. Card number 43. Your sacred soul passion is powerful enough to shift the state of your inner reality and your outer experience. So commit to what truly ignites your heart, and do not be dissuaded by anything or anyone. If you are seeking to make a commitment, do so when it truly connects you to your heart. Follow your genuine, meaningful bliss. Know that no matter what appears to be, you shall prevail, you shall arise. Kutuhala is Sanskrit for that which excites wonder. Oh, wasn't I just saying this at the beginning of the reading? I don't know if that will make it into the reading, but even if it doesn't, because I recorded 2 different intros, even if it doesn't seem like it will lead us anywhere practical, following our bliss can allow for something beautiful and deeply fulfilling to unfold. We often pursue what is sensible and secure, yet what could be more appropriate or divinely and delightfully inappropriate than pursuing a path so intoxicating, so fascinating, so utterly mesmerizing to the spirit that, no matter what challenges arise, you feel so much love and commitment and passion you shall not turn away. That is the stuff of potential greatness. We might call it being led by our hearts. Kutuhala is permission to do just that. The shadow side of Kutuhala is when we chase our bliss in such a way that nothing genuine ever gets a chance to mature. The commitment that emerges out of true Kutuhala is not about clipping one's wings, but about growing them and learning how to fly skillfully. This oracle encourages you to recognize that, in its own inimitable way, spirit is practical. It just tends to go via the deliriously rapturous, astonishing, and deeply healing route. Trust what you love and let your heart lead you. You and your life shall become luminous, sanctified in the grace of alchemical transformation. An unexpected and miraculous arising is at hand. Well, that's a pretty beautiful reading. Hopefully the editing is just as beautiful and I don't accidentally erase it. Okay, thanks for being here. Damn, I love this. I love it so much. Okay, yeah, hit the buttons, like, subscribe, do all the things, share, and trust. I am avidly researching equipment that can make this experience better, and as soon as I have a little cash in my pocket and can put it towards that, I will certainly do just that. I found a replacement for the ring light, and there was a microphone actually that seemed like made by the same company that looks just fine and is much cheaper than the one I was fantasizing about, so hopefully I can make that happen. Yeah. Okay, thank you for being here. It's so good to read for you, and I really appreciate your presence and support for the channel. Mwah! Bye.